Welcome back, everyone, to a Last Day on Earth Season 13 update-ish, breakdown-ish styled video. And the title of this video, Season 13, An Almost Perfect Season. I think that ties everything up very, very nicely. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, to me the second best, but probably to some the best season Last Day on Earth has ever possibly done. I'm going to go over all of that, why this season is an almost perfect season in my mind, and what LDOE can really do to keep this alive, the season hype alive, because I think if future seasons are like Season 13, there won't be as many complaints. Before we get into that, let's talk about the negatives first before we go into the positives. Obviously, there are a lot more positives than negatives, so I'll make this very quick, but I feel like this stuff is worth pointing out so LDOE can definitely improve for the future. The Android iOS update delay was ridiculous. And I know there's been flip-flopping in the past. Android used to get the update before iOS, but I still don't think that there is any excuse why one platform should lag behind the other. Scheduling updates should be a thing. I know it's really not in Kafir's control, but why is it that every other app that I've touched does not have this problem? So I am interested to see that get corrected for future updates. It definitely needs some addressing, while it is only a problem the first few days of the season. If this keeps happening, and then the other thing, once we go more narrowly into season content, I didn't really find a, let's say, connection between the permanent content and the seasonal content. Now let me explain there. When I played this season, it felt like there was the permanent content stuff, which is the boat, the sewers, etc., and then there's the season stuff, the season pass, the old factory, the events, etc. There wasn't really, let's say, a connection between the two of them. The only connection I could really connect the two types of content from would be the presence at deliveries, which would then further your reputation, which would then further your progress to the boat. That's a very, very, very loose connection, and there should have been, let's say, a stronger connection between the two of them. Let's just say you added, I don't know, maybe a couple of glass propellers, keys, and maybe the motorboat pumps into the season pass. All of a sudden, you'd have a lot more motivation for people like me to grind the season pass, grind hollies to then unlock levels in the season pass. Now let's get into the more nuanced topic. And right here I have RNG. Now I absolutely do understand that the boat is meant to be endgame content. This is the new endgame thing we push for now. But the RNG to get it. To me, I'm more of a fan of the grind, do this to get this. Kind of like the Fort Moss event. Do this to get this, to level up your thing. Whereas this was, hope you get the chance to unlock this item, which will then help you build your boat. Never been the biggest fan of the RNG item behind chance kind of thing, but I can totally understand. So it is meant to be long term, but just another nitpick. Now let's move more into the positives. And I think the most obvious positive, this is permanent content. Finally, after so long of talking about the permanent content issue, this shows that Kafir is actually listening. The sewers and boat and subsequent zones you get after unlocking each of them are permanent. They have plans to stay in the game for the future. Sewers are definitely good, as I mentioned in my previous point, especially long term. It is the go-to place to get glass, which is a good thing. Although once you unlock the boat, then you can farm for it by hand, which is something I wish I was able to do prior to getting the boat. Let's say maybe a couple of glass ore in the red rock zone. For the very advanced players or YouTubers who really want that content, go there, farm ridiculous quantities of stone, and maybe you'll get a few of that. And then this way you can progress to your boat just a little bit faster than everybody else, but you're still putting in absolutely crazy amounts of work just to get marginally better stats to get that boat just a little bit faster than everybody else. I feel like that would have been a little bit better than RNG, but that's just my own opinion. New resources being titanium, which is something we've wanted to see in the game for a very, very long time. And this titanium lays the groundwork for the future. I hope it doesn't just turn into lead 2.0, which is pretty much useless, but it's looking good in the blueprints, assuming they don't just change everything to tungsten and then release tungsten 3 years down the line and then release yet another metal. But this titanium and glass and all of these new resources lay the groundwork for the future. Maybe, just maybe, we'll somehow get our boat down to the bottom dock and sail to Bunker Charlie. These new resources in the crafting menu are definitely looking exciting, and most interestingly, the Genesis reputation, pointing to laboratory and thus the electronics bench, teased in the very near future. Assuming that blueprint doesn't just change immediately, I for one am very excited to think that this is coming soon. Now, where does this put us in terms of Season 14? I'm going to do a complete breakdown on Season 14 stuff once this season ends, as always, but there hasn't been a whole lot of news on Season 14. I would assume it would be a multiplayer update. Don't quote me on that, though. I was wrong about 13. The laboratory definitely does sound enticing, and I really hope that is the next update, but it does feel like they've neglected multiplayer for 3-ish months. And so, with the slow multiplayer update, I only hope that the next multiplayer update is big, if not bigger than, let's say, businesses, and does not change anything 5 days into the season or something like that. I, for one, am very interested to know if they're planning something there, but again, would not be complaining at all if it turns out to be a single-player season with the laboratory. Now, moving forward with seasons, before my voice dies, moving forward with the seasons, if Last Day on Earth is able to bring some sort of permanent content incorporation to every season, I definitely think seasons would not be as hated as they possibly are. If they are to tie in the permanent content stuff and the seasonal content stuff, throwing glass into the season pass, throwing the new resources into the season pass, or something like that, I think players will definitely open up to seasons a little more in the future, especially since they've said they have no plans to drop the season thing, even though, as I talked about in my documentary, season 20, 30, gonna feel kind of old, right? Well, we'll see how they play out seasons in the future. Hope this video got my thoughts out and kind of gave my thoughts on Season 13, how LDOE worked, what they can improve on, and everything on that, and how to best move forward in the future. Let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe, join my Discord, ZD out.